Today's video, we're going to talk about influencer marketing, paying influencers or online celebrities, if you want to call them that. To promote your products and know if they work. The key thing with influencer marketing is to understand that not all influencers are going to perform the same. It'd be nice, obviously, to know if certain influencers are profitable so we can keep going with them. Given you don't always just have to have one review from an influencer. That's part of the way that you really cash out with influencer marketing. If you didn't know that, that's your first tip of the day. You could have them talk about the product once, and then every 6 months they can talk about it. Review the product again, if you will, or give status updates. So you could do 10 influencers, 1 or 2 work, and then the 1 or 2 you just have a long-term contract with them. Pretty simple. Just like with other online advertising or advertising in general, there's 20% there that makes all the money. You just got to be able to figure out where that 20% is. This method right here that I'm going to give you here is the best way of figuring out where the 20% is, given it's not, there is some drawbacks that I will talk about, but it's not the give out discount code thing that everybody else on YouTube that I see having researched here prior to making this video are saying about how to track influencer marketing, ROI, and sales, okay? The short of this is, and the reason why coupon codes, giving those out to the influencers, basically where you would say, here, influencer 1, here's a specific code to give out to your audience to give them 10% off of what you're promoting for us. And we know if somebody uses it, because they're going to use that specific code that we don't give to anybody else, and therefore we can track the ROI from your efforts. The reason why that does not work is because about 10% of the sales you're going to actually get from that influencer and the true value from that influencer by itself, even if it does work, are going to show up under that discount code. It's why influencers are not going to just take your affiliate commission only way of paying them. There's a lot of dumb people out there that are going to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Influencer, you should promote my product or service, and I will give you 10% of all the sales you get from it. We'll track, here's an affiliate link, here's a discount code, we'll track all the sales that come from you, and we'll give you 10% of the cut. A lot of times people don't believe it because they get ripped off and they hide. They call it, in affiliate marketing, they call it skimming, where the business owner will skim part of the sales off, so they're not really giving them 10% on everything, they're giving them 10% on like half. But the bigger issue is, a lot of people, the reason why they call them influencers is because they influence. People trust them. People are going to see what they're promoting, they're going to go to the website, and they're going to come back later to buy, and they're going to forget all about that discount code. Very few people are going to remember that discount code in all practical reality. It'll give you a way, if you get, for instance, I will admit, if you gave a discount code to each influencer and had 10 of them promoting your stuff all at once, you'd be able to tell by that discount code and the uses of those discount codes, which influencer brought in the most sales. But it's going to be very unscientific because like 10% of the people who end up buying from that influencer and the value you get out of the influencer were picked up by that discount code. So whereas you can kind of tell, comparing influencer to influencer that way is really not the best way to do it. You're much, much better off using this other way to track the sales from each influencer and get the value out of each influencer, which I'm going to talk about here as well. A lot of people just overlook and makes influencer marketing worth at least twice as much as if you were doing it the usual way that most people think of how you get value out of an influencer, which is they mention something on your channel, people see it, the subscribers see it, and they run out there and go ahead and buy. And the fact that somebody endorses your product, that in itself has value, inherent value. It's just like a celebrity endorsing your product. Influencer, celebrity, they're basically the same thing nowadays, as long as you're talking about bigger influencers, obviously at least, but even smaller ones, it's still considered a celebrity. It's just modern day celebrities. For the younger crowd, it's like a modern day celebrity. So, or if you want to say older crowd too. I don't want to necessarily say young, but anyway. So what you do to see what the true value is of these influencers. So you can run out there. If you're running at PPC ads now, you want to be able to see if influencer marketing works. Here's what you do to track whether or not the influencer marketing works. First of all, you're going to do just one influencer. You're not going to do a bunch of them. That's part of the drawback to doing it my way here, but you know, everything has drawbacks, we'll say. And what you're going to do is you're going to track the sales from that one influencer using something called conversion lift testing. This is basically, in a nutshell, you are just going to simply see how your sales at your company are affected once this influencer reviews your product or service. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, how do you know the influencer created XYZ amount of sales? That your sales went up 10% at your company as a result of that influencer. The reality of it is, if you go with the right size influencers, it should affect your results and your sales enough where you can physically see the sales going up and then down afterwards. So you could chart it out on a daily time frame, your sales. You could do, 30 days before the influencer mentions your product or service, and then 30 days after, and then you could see how the sales come up, and then they're going to slowly come down, slowly come down. So let's say your sales are just like this. They're coming around, influencer mentions it, it's up, and they're going to slowly come down, and then eventually the baseline again. That right there is what at least half of your sales that you're going to get from that influencer is actually going to come from. And then you're going to pay attention to that difference and lift in sales that you had that you normally wouldn't have had because your normal baseline's around here, and then with the influencer you had this. More importantly, you want to do this going back 3 years, chart it out 3 years by day like that. Why? Because each month your business has a little bit different sales going on, depending on the seasonal fluctuations and so forth. So not only just looking at before and after the influencer mentions your product or service, you'll do that going back previous years. And let's say in 2022, your sales were 60K. 2021, your sales were like 52K. Then, basically, you should, assuming your company's growing a little bit each year and that the, year to date, your sales are up 14% year over year, you could pretty much expect now your sales 14% plus your 60K previous year for that month, that your sales should be somewhere around, 65 to 70K. That's what it should be without the influencer, okay? Then you're going to have the influencer pitch your product or service, then you're going to see what happens. So you could, that way, because a lot of people make this mistake, they forget. It's very common at our firm, we'll run ads for people. During times where the sales are normally slower, like in the summer months or whatever it is, the sales will slow down, and then they'll come to me complaining about their ads not working the way that they were. And I have to tell them every year, every summer your sales are going to be slower because less people buy this time of the year. I can't do some magical thing to mitigate seasonal fluctuations in your sales. There's certain times of the year people buy at a higher rate. Some people, and they're going to complete their sale at a higher rate. And even though people are researching during that time, doesn't mean that the conversion rate is going to be the same as is other times. Because a lot of times people do research before they buy. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off track here. So, with that said, okay, so if you did not know, we're talking about YouTube and for the most part Instagram or anything else. Half of the influencers' views that they're going to get on that post or on that video that they're doing for your company are going to come from their subscribers that they already have. The other half is going to come from non-subscribers, roughly speaking. And then with that, the views that they get from their subscriber base, they're going to get 90% of that within the first 14 days. So what you're going to simply do is see how your sales are affected in 14 days directly after the mention. And you're going to subtract that from what your sales should have been normally during that 14 days using the information that I gave you earlier. And then you're going to double that because the other sales you're going to get are going to be trickling in over the next 3 years as the video gets organic organically gets found and whatnot there. More so with YouTube, less, with Instagram, but still, you get the general idea, because it's people are outside their subscriber base is also going to see it, and of those people, they're not necessarily also all going to see them in the next 14 days. It'd be more so within the next 14 days as well, if we were talking about Instagram, but not the opposite with YouTube. YouTube, the other half, the non-subscribers are going to see that over the next 3 years. So if you're talking about like Instagram, to keep it simple, whatever happens in the next 14 days, you take that, that's basically what your sales are going to be. 90% of your sales are going to occur within that first 14 days. For YouTube, half of your sales are going to occur within that first 14 days. The other half is going to occur within the next 3 years, essentially. Follow me here? So that's how you're going to essentially do the conversion lift testing and figure out how many sales that influencer brought in. And, obviously, if it's a small influencer that has like 5,000 subscribers, you're not going to be able to have a significant lift in your sales to be able to do tracking like this. So you just don't use them. Basically, if it's too hard to tell what they're doing to your sales, then it's not worth going after. But not only for that reason, the people that have true influence, if you're not talking about a niche level influencer who's like if you're in the surfing space, there's a guy that just talks about surfing, and that 5,000 subs is you want a review from that person. But if you're talking about general influencers who are not niche specialists, you only want the influencers over 100K or more in subs, because they're the only ones with enough influence to get somebody that sees them to buy your product at a high rate. We already know this because we've tested small ones, big ones. Unless it's a niche specific specialist, you only want 100K or more people. And then with the 100K or more people, you'll be able to significantly see the sales rise in the 14 days directly after that influencer mentioning your product or service. And then with that, don't bother. There's just some other side stuff about influencer marketing. We found, and I get insider information about this, even though I just manage people's ads and their ad strategy at our firm. I mentioned influencer marketing because it adds to what we can do with PPC. PPC, pick the low-hanging fruit, and then you want to go out and do some influencer marketing. Because we manage people's tracking and all that, I advise them through this kind of stuff and mention, and you should do some influencer marketing testing. Anyway, we found that, like these influencers, like you'll see on YouTube videos all the time, people will mention like a game or some like nutrient drink during the, it looks like a commercial within it's not an actual ad, but it's like a commercial that's embedded within the video. Those mentions don't really do much. Yes, if it's a video game ad that you've seen 100 times, that could. The reason why those companies are doing it is because if you see it enough times, it'll eventually drill into your head. But if you're talking about one mention and trying to get an effect from it, you only want genuine reviews, where you would send your product or service to them, they're going to genuinely review it and then do a dedicated video for that review, not just mentioning it briefly during other videos. Those are basically not worth doing. Long story short, okay? So a real review is dedicated video or dedicated post, and you can get great results with that usually. And if you do have a review from a niche specialist, you could automatically assume 5 to 10 times more sales per sub if it's a niche specific specialist. Going back to that surfing thing, if it was a person that's known in the surfing space and they're reviewing your surfboard, you can expect 10 times more revenue per sub than somebody who's not a surfing specialist itself. So you want to go after niche specialists if you can. I would go after them even if they're small, and even if you are going to be able to so easily tell the sales lift, because maybe they'll only have like 3,000 subs, you're still not going to be able to see a big jump in the sales. It'll be a little bit harder to measure. But because it can bring you 10 times more sales per sub, even 3,000 subs, that's like having 30,000 subs from a non-niche specific player. So those are some basic guidance points if you're going to do influencer marketing, as far as I've seen, where it's actually worth doing and where it normally will work. But with that said, most people are not viewing the opportunity that influencer marketing is. I like to recommend it to my clients because we can then use the recommendation that the influencer made in our other marketing to get the other traffic we have coming to our site converted at a higher rate, which is where people don't consider this when deciding if they got an ROI from their influencer. So with that, you can, especially for the niche specific specialists, but even if you just have generalized influencers as well, you can take that recommendation you got and you could double the return that you're going to get from the immediate 14-day post lift you got through the increase in conversion rate you're going to get on all the rest of your traffic from now on by mentioning it in your remarketing ads. So if they've been to my site, let's say from my search campaign that I had on Google, they get to my site, they leave, they're going to see that video review as they're browsing YouTube in general. They're going to also see banner ads that mention that YouTube review. They click on that ad, they're going to be sent to that YouTube review. With that, if you're talking about Facebook, we're running an ad, they've been to our site, they're going to see an ad that if they click on it, it sends them to that exact post where that influencer reviewed us. You get the general idea. So you're going to remarket the hell out of it everywhere you can, every platform, so that every single person who gets to your site from now on is going to see that at some point within the next 30 days of leaving your site. That's going to increase the conversion rate of the traffic you drive to your site. So it's not a revenue driver in and itself. It will drive directly a little bit of revenue, but what it will mostly do, and how you should be thinking about it, is it makes any of the traffic you drive to your site already convert better, convert 10% better, 20% better than it did before, because now they see that recommendation, which that gives them a little bit more confidence about your exact product or service. A 10% lift in your conversion rate on all the traffic you drive into your site, that's why you can count on doubling the return of whatever's pulled in directly 14 days after that share of that post, because that's massive over the long term by having that. And really, even if there wasn't any return up front, 14 days after the share of that recommendation from the influencer, it would already pay for itself in many occasions because of the lift in conversion rate you're going to get from all the people that you're driving into your site when you already have your traffic you're driving into your site already, a significant amount at least. So you have that, then you're going to also, at least if you have a niche specific review, going back to the surfer thing, you got a review from a surfing influencer, you can mention that on your landing pages. So going back to before where we're talking about running search campaigns, driving traffic to our site or landing page, the fact that they see that you got a great review from a surfing influencer on that landing page will increase the conversion rate of the people who hit the page that will convert right away as well. So they see it there on the landing page, and then if they leave, they're going to make sure they see it as well as they're browsing the web. So in case they didn't see it on the landing page initially, they're going to see it after they leave at some point in time. So that's going to increase your conversion rates on all traffic you have coming into your site as well. And then furthermore, as a final point here, when somebody types in, like if you sell a surfboard, going back to that as well, it's Johnson surfboards. You know how it works. If you go to buy something online, what do you do before you buy it? You search the reviews. Johnson surfboard reviews. And then you go see what shows up. If you have as a part of your influencer payment and your deal with the influencer, you have to have them write in the title of the video or the post, it should say in the headline, Johnson surfboard review. Why? So that when somebody searches Johnson surfboard reviews on Google right before they make the purchase to make sure they're not buying something with bad reviews, they find on the first page of Google the influencer endorsement that you got. And it'll rank well because that person has a lot of clout, so of course it will rank well. And that will help your conversion rate again on all the traffic you have coming to your site from your other ads. That'll help lift the conversion rate because more people who get to that stage is going to feel comfortable enough to finish their purchases. So there's multiple ways that's going to increase the conversion rate and the purchases you get from all the other ads you're running on the internet once you have this in place. Assuming you go ahead and you add it to your landing page, you title it correctly so it shows up in the right searches organically, and it shows up in remarketing ads across the web once the person leaves. What I like to do as well is I'm going to have remarketing ads that have that influencers mention, and then so they see ads that pitch that, so that we want them to watch that video, because if they watch it, it's going to increase the conversion rate of the traffic we have coming into the site already. But also, I'm going to have regular everyday customers, not influencers, reviewing the product on their iPhone, and then have the prospect that comes to our site that leaves without buying see those videos as well. So we have a mixture of everyday Joe reviews as well as influencer reviews. That combination seems to really work well. So, but anyway, you get the general gist here. Whatever you find in the first 14 days in terms of the sales lift, you can pretty much double that. And that's the real sales that you're going to get. Or should I say first 14 days for like Instagram, or first 14 days on YouTube times 2 would be what your sales are. And then if you want to really see what the value is you can double whatever that is. Once you take that sales lift times 2 to account for any trickle-in sales, any increase in conversion rate you're going to get from other traffic sources from now on, because it's findable and you can use it in your other marketing. So you may be on YouTube, you get a review video, it brings in a 20K sales lift 14 days after that video goes live, or you could automatically apply a 2x differential to that, because over the next 3 years, people stumbling upon it organically, you're going to get more sales. That gives you actually a number more, so like 40K in sales. And then once you assume that you can use that same video in all your other marketing, now you're talking about an 80K in sales from that influencer post. And those are real numbers you can get from an influencer that has like 1 million subs on YouTube. YouTube's the best. Personally, I like it the best because there's so much more detail you can give in a video. Instagram, all that stuff, that's nice if you want to go ahead and try that, but YouTube is really where it's at for influencer marketing and these product or service-based reviews itself. And to get a product review video from an influencer with 100K subs, yeah, it'll cost you close to 10 grand for that video, but it'll bring you 100,000 in sales. And that's why it's particularly important to understand what the true value is of these influencers and the sales that they can bring in. Because if you're just obviously looking at the discount code, you're going to say, oh, this brought in 10K worth of sales. This is dog shit. And really, it brought in 80,000 in sales. You just didn't understand how to evaluate the effect of that influencer video that you paid for. And with that, by the way, that's actually good for you, because most people, I promise you, are not going to evaluate the influencer post that they got or video that they got the way that I'm talking about here. They're going to do it through the discount code method. And so therefore, they're not going to be as willing to pay as much to an influencer for a review video. Whereas you're going to be able to evaluate it basically, 8 times more than the other guy. And so the cost of that influencer post is going to remain low and therefore profitable for you to go after. You don't want everybody to see this video that I have here saying this is that actual sales these influencer posts actually bring in. You really can get somebody with 1 million subs and a lot of clout to review your product or service and get $80,000 worth of sales value out of it or whatnot. So, or 100,000 subs even. So, but you get the general idea. And then you just obviously just have to know what your ROI tolerance is. If you are spending 10K for the influencer video, the review, and you need an 8-to-1 return, you're shooting for 80,000 in sales volume. And you'll know pretty much within 14 days of doing it about whether or not you got your 8-to-1 return or not. And if you did not get the return, obviously try a different influencer. Not all influencers, like I said at the beginning of the video, are going to bring the same return. If you got it with one, it makes it very likely you're going to get it with a lot of others. If you didn't get it, there's still a really good chance you just have to try, 5 or 10 others, and 1 or 2 at least will work. But if you got it the first time, you should be jumping up and down for joy, because this is probably going to work very well on scale. Because there's like maybe a 10% chance you would have found. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was already rare for this to work, then it's supposed to be rare for this to work. Not all influencers it's supposed to work very well, and you hit it and it's profitable on the first time. Well, the chances are most influencers it's going to be baseline profitable for you to be able to run your ads there. And the net effect of being able to afford to run all these review videos, because they're directly profitable to you. When somebody goes to type in, Johnson surfboard reviews, and they see 10, 15 other influencers, especially in the surfing space, review your product, there is zero question left whether or not you can be trusted, because the average consumer does not know that these review videos are a paid review video, even if it says paid promotion on it, because people don't pay attention to that. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate giving it a thumbs up, and consider subscribing, as there's a ton of other content on this channel about how to make money online with ads, specifically coming from somebody who does ad strategy all day long and has done it for decades. So it's the best information I promise you could find on YouTube and online on how to practically make money online with ads. If you like my channel, you'll also like my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog, as well as my column that I have over at entrepreneur.com. If you're looking for an ad manager to help you get results for your business, running ads on Google, Facebook, or whatnot, or just want to see what's possible, you should definitely reach out to my firm and see and get the free analysis that I offer new prospective clients at our firm. I can tell you how much sales results I can get for your company running ads, and can tell you what we can guarantee for you physically up front, and that we do not charge fees to our clients until we get our clients' sales results up front on their campaigns. The only catch is we just don't work with all clients out there, but if you've got something good that you think that we would like to ultimately promote, you should definitely reach out, and we'll give you an analysis anyway, and at the very least you'll know what's possible. So with that said, guaranteeppc.com is where you can find me and where you can get that analysis at. If you are not looking to work with an ad agency per se, but if you want to shortcut your way to success online, we have ad templates that work for 100+ different markets. And that if we work in a certain market, and we worked in a market that somebody that approaches us wants to be able to get results in, we can, instead of working directly ongoing to manage your ads, we can sell you the ad templates and landing page templates and sales funnels that work for that space. You can copy and paste the results we were getting for a client in your industry as well, or yourself in your own geographic market. As long as you're not in direct competition with our current client, of course you can use it. So we sell those for a one-time fee. So we can tell you what results you can get with it before using it, of course, which is the best part about it. But if you're interested in that, reach out to us. Like I said, worked in 100+ markets before. We got people using these templates to start up new businesses even. So guaranteeppc.com for that. And as a final note, if you are wanting to work with somebody and partner with somebody, we invest in companies as well. If you got something great, we're willing to invest all of our time and money into getting you great results on your campaigns, and we'll simply settle for a certain percentage of your sales growth. Between 1 and 10% of the sales, we can build your company up to many, many millions of dollars a year, or more than what you have right now going on. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to us at guaranteeppc.com, and I'll speak with you about the opportunity itself. But with that said, I'll wrap it up pretty much with that. Hopefully this video was enjoyable to you, it was informative, and I hope to see you on the next video where we have another great strategy for you then. See you later.